I'll start with this schedule here. In 2012-13 budget was $116,993,000. This year's draft budget is $121,951,000. It's an increase of almost $5 million, of $4,958,000. And you'll notice it's a balanced budget as it has to be, with revenues and expenses equaling. What I'll do here is I'll pick the major items that have increases on the revenue side, major items that have decreases on the revenue side. On the revenue side, you will find down here that the total of the items listed as major increases in revenue of $6,275,000, offset by $1,523,000 in reductions in revenue, and these are just the major items, not everything. And there's $206,000 that I have not put. It's the little stuff, the $2,000, $5,000, whatever, that makes up the difference that's not on this page. Comes back to the $4,058,000 of net increase in the proposed budget, draft budget here, in revenues. Going from the top, use of funds, that is, I'll call it a plug figure for lack of another definition. That's to balance the budget. Last year we had a use of, in the budget of $831,000. This year we're looking at a use per this draft at $2,889,000, which is the increase of $2,057,000. The next item is an LMIG grant for $1,403,000. When I get to the expenses, you'll see there's a corresponding expense for the LMIG money for the expenditures on the other side. So in a sense, the revenues are up and the expenses are up by that $1,400,000, but the reality is it's a wash to this year's budget. You could take that off of the gross revenue, gross expenses, as they are a single line item that washes each other out. Next major item that shows an increase in revenue is the sales tax. We're budgeting and estimating a 3% increase to this year's sales tax, or $570,000. Planning and zoning, an increase of $570,000. Excuse me. Planning and zoning is $559,000. There is $525,000 that we're anticipating as an ARC grant, 525 for ARC grant for the CTP that has to be done this upcoming year. Next, probate court. There's a couple of things in there that are increases. Certified copies, $216,000. The next is $78,000 for guardian income fees, and $30,000 increase in firearm fees. $276,000 for motor vehicle tax collections. That's based on our current running rates and anticipation be able to have that increase next year's budget. Same thing with personal property, other property, $250,000 based on current collection rates. Clerk of the Superior Court, $173,000 increase is recording legal instruments. Last year, all of this was in one place. This year, it's been spread throughout various departments. Senior services, $63,000 Title III grant increase and a $33,000 C1 grant increase, of making up most of the $106,000. Magistrate court, an increase in civil fees of $71,900, and GIS reimbursement of flyover, $50,000. When I get to the expenses, you'll see $100,000 to do the flyover, and this is reimbursement against that $100,000, so it's a net $50,000 to this year's budget. One has not been done in, I believe it was 5 years. Decreases in revenue. The police department will have a decrease of $442,000. Last year we budgeted crossing guards for $408,000. We did not collect it, and we are not budgeting it for next year. There's also a reduction of $100,000 in the fees from Stockbridge. It was budgeted last year at $600,000. It came in at $5,000, and again we're budgeting $5,000 for next year. And there's a pickup of $30,000 in sale of assets. Tax commissioner, less collections of fees from the schools of $295,000. and also $100,000 less for water. Last year we budgeted, anticipated $200,000 for water department for fees. We had none prior to that, and we ended up getting $100,000 of the $200,000. We just were hoping for more and got $100,000, which was more, as I said, than we've ever gotten before from the water department. Property tax penalties and interest, anticipating less penalty and interest as people pay their property tax bills on time. Certified copies, again, when I mentioned up above, some of the departments above have certified copy revenues greater than they were because we used to have a line item by itself, and now we've allocated it back to the departments. State court clerk, $123,000, reduction in criminal fines from the state court. Sheriff's Department, $109,000 reduction. There's pluses and minuses here. There's a $200,000 reduction in prisoner boarding, but it's offset by a $36,000 special fund increase and $25,000 for overtime reimbursement. Fire Department, $90,000 decrease, $210,000 reduction in ambulance fees, but an increase in special fees, service fees, $69,000, and $50,000 EMT training school fees that they anticipate taking in next year. Code enforcement is a $49,707 reduction, and that is because Stockbridge was, we were doing Stockbridge's code enforcement, and in effective March 1st of this year, they took that over themselves, so those fees will not be collected next year. As you can see, the total increases, major increases of $6,275,000 offset by major decreases of $1,523,000, nets to $4,752,000. Unexplained $206 brings us back to the $4,958,000. Going on to the expenses, there's a few more listed than was on the revenue. It's about 23 increases, major increases. Again, these are major. I did not get into the, I used a scope of about $40,000 on increases and 56 on decreases to get away from the 10s and 20s and 5s and all the others. Starting at the top, Blue Cross Blue Shield premium increase of $1,800,000. At this point, what I want to do is go through that portion of it, if I can, to explain what that is all about. What you have up here is the, and I'm going into the tab that you have in your folder called Insurance. I believe it's Exhibit 1, pretty sure. This schedule here shows for two 12-month periods from February of March 11 to February 12 and March 12 to February 13, our loss ratio on our policy for insurance is running at a 98.8% right now. Last year, or comparable 12-month prior, was 88.9. We've had a 10% erosion. We're basically, our revenue, the premiums we're paying are about equal to what the claims that are being paid, which is the 98.8. You can see in the most recent months, January and February, we've been at 102.6, meaning for every dollar that we've paid in premiums, the insurance company has paid out $1.02 in claims. 92% there. If you look at where we were last year in February, it was 81 and 73 versus the 102 and 92. Basically what all this means is the insurance company this year said, we've got to raise your premiums. Last year, Blue Cross Blue Shield maintained the same premiums. We did have to do some benefit changes to do that. And this year we've got some of the same, which I'll show you. My guess is our broker went out to the market and initially started out with about a 34% increase that Blue Cross came in with. By the time we got done beating them up as best as we could, they stopped at a 22.9% increase. Aetna could not and would not propose a comparable program on the current plan that we have. No United Healthcare, Coventry came in at the same 22.9% increase. Cigna and Humana were 35% on the current plan. They then suggested a maximum on the going to an out-of-pocket max of $2,000 from $1,000 on the 80-20 plan. That knocked off 3.9% here. Aetna came then and said, we can do that. It's a 22.6 increase. And Coventry, which was equal, as you can see, is now at a 21% increase after taking that one item in consideration. Also, there's a couple other items I'll show in just a second that we picked up another 3% in reduction in premiums. We basically barely got anything out of Aetna for those items, and United finally did put a bid in, provided all the same items were in the way the plan would come out, and Coventry came to 18.5. The bottom line, as you can see, is that the best in any category at this point is Blue Cross Blue Shield. Going to this program at 16% reduction is the one I'm going to present today. When I mentioned earlier there were benefits that Blue Cross had suggested to get basically a 6.9% reduction from the 22 down to the 16%. The first one is that our present ER copay is $150. They suggested taking it to $200, and for that they would reduce our premiums by 0.5%. Presently, Tier 2 drugs, which generic is a Tier 1, but Tier 2 and Tier 3 drugs, they suggested a $200 deductible, and after the deductible, then the copay would go back to the same on the drugs after that. That picks up a 1.5% reduction in the overall premiums. Inpatient copay from $300 on the 80-20 to $500, which as you can see puts it in line with the other two programs. Outpatient surgery, $300 to $500, which puts it in line with the current other two programs. The out-of-pocket, which is presently $1,000 on the 80-20. Last year, after they gave us the quote, they came back and said that should have been $2,000. The quote was in, we accepted the quote as it was, and we didn't let them raise the deductible at that time, or the out-of-pocket rather. And this year they've come back and said, and that was the big item that you saw on the previous page, where they knocked off 3.9% of the 22.9. As a result of the out-of-pocket going up $1,000 to $2,000, the max will go from $3,000 to $6,000. It's a big hit. Coming down here, you can see the 6.9 coming off the 22.9 gets us to 16. After those items are if they're put in place, the premiums at the present time for this year are $11,810,000. The premiums based on a 16% increase are $13,700,000. I'll show you in just a second the calculations of all that. A couple of items I won't go through this. I'll go through. They offered us another 5.1% or 7.6% reduction from that 16% if we did these items here, increasing the copays, copays on various things and diagnostics and so on. And at this point, we did not take those items to further reduce benefits from the plan. To put it in perspective on the items I mentioned earlier where we did take the 0.5% or 1.5% or the 3.9, the 0.5% reduced the program by $59,000. The 1.5% would be $177,000, and the big one was the 3.9 reduced the premium for next year by $460,000. I've just calculated on you have 1,377 participants in the plan, and those are the average costs, which really is not per because of the various different policies, just averages. You'll see here that this is the present rate, $306 for employee only. 16% increase goes to $355. These are the number of participants and the monthly cost for the county on each of those particular line items. And again, all of them are 16% increases. You can see the rates are going from $988 to $1,146, $1,135 to $1,317, $1,445 to $1,676 on the family rates on the HMO, 2 HMO and POS plans. The premium on a monthly basis will increase by $157,000. On an annualized basis, our total premiums, which I had in the previous page of $11,810,000 goes to $13,700,000. The breakdown is above by policy. Again, you can see 941 of the 1377 employees that are on the plan are in the HMO 80/20 at the present time. The increase with 1,377 employees is an average of $1,372 per employee or per participant increase. What I'm going to present here next is there's three ways this can be covered. One is the county could absorb all of it. Two, the county can participate in a percentage, any percentage the board so chooses. Or thirdly, the employee would end up having to absorb 100% of it. So those are the obvious three options that are given, but the point is at this point, we do have $1,889,000 of increase in premium that's got to be paid by somebody this year. To put it in perspective, if the board were to say we're going to put it all on the employees, pass it all on to the employees, you can see here that the increase in this last column is $49 up to $158 for family on the 80/20, $56 to $181 on the 85/15, and the POS goes from $71 to $231 increase on a monthly basis. If the county were to absorb none and all of it were to be absorbed by the employees, what you would end up with is an increase per month obviously equal to the figure that I just read, but the staggering figure is the column here that says annual dollar increase. On an HMO 80/20, if the employees were to have to absorb 100% of it, it would range from $589 to $1,897 a year. On a $30,000 or $35,000 employee, that would be a big chunk of their paycheck. Same thing with an 85/15. If they were to absorb all of it at $677 or $2,180, and the POS, as you can see, is staggering at $861 to $2 million to $200 to an employee to feel like $2 million, $2,775. These are big figures, and as you can see, the monthly figure is the one that's to the left there, which is identical to that. That is if the board were to take and put 100% charge back to the employees. If there was a 50-50 split, I'll get there. Same schedule, same increases at the right, but instead you can see there's a $24.65 here and the employee, and the same thing with the county, and you can see that that figure, of course, is identical in both sides, and again totals to the same figure in the previous page. The annual amounts are obviously half of what was on the previous page, going from $294 annually to $948 annually, or almost $1,000. The 85/15 from $336 to over $1,000, and $430 up to $1,387 per year for each participant in the plan under each of those programs. To put in perspective the last schedule I have here on the insurance, as I mentioned in the first schedule, our present loss ratio is 98.8%. Last year, up until the renewal June 1, we had 100% HMO. You can see the loss ratio for the March, April, and May, 3 months, because this is from March to February this year. Those losses were 193 loss ratio. The 90 HMO, which again went away and was reduced to an 85% HMO last year, in those 3 months it had an 83% loss ratio. The 80% pre-6/1 was 92. The 100% POS, which again was reduced to an 85 POS, is 241, was a 241% loss ratio. 90% POS was 197. So as you can see, those programs were severe in their loss ratios. Continuing on, the 85% HMO we're presently under, the 85 and the 85 POS and 80 HMO, you can see the loss ratios overall at 76.9, the POS at 125 and 93.8 for the 80%, all that averages out, comes out to the 98.8. The number of enrollees, you can see to the right, most all of them are in the active. This pre-65 and post-65, those are retirees in both category as either pre-65 or post-age 65. Down in the bottom, what I've shown again is the number of people in the 85% HMO is 416, 20 people in the POS, 85%, and 941, the bulk of the personnel are in the 80% HMO. I'm going fast through this, and I'll answer questions later if you like. I just want to get this out. This is what we are faced with right now. Those are the reasons why from the insurance company is, and again, what we did get an opportunity to try to go to market to try to do better after we did get Blue Cross Blue Shield to come down from the original 34% request coming down to 22.9 before we did any benefit, accepted any benefit changes. I leave all that there to have you digest as far as the type of benefit changes you would or would not want to make, and some decision that has to be made as to the county absorbing or not absorbing any or all of that cost. In the present time, the $1.8 million, it's $1,889,000, it's 89 short, but $1.8 million we put in just to put it on this schedule to see that is an increase. If not a dime of it goes to the employees, and 100% of it would be, or at least it would be $1,889,000 to be 100. And then the next item is the DOT right-of-way, ROW right-of-way construction, general supplies and asphalt. On the previous revenue schedule difference, I showed $1.4 million for the LMIG revenue. Basically, that revenue and this is a wash when you look at the budget. It inflates the revenues $1.4 million and inflates the expenses by $1.4 million. Employee bonus and benefits, we've been requested to put this in. That figure is $1.2 million. DOT right-of-way construction salaries and benefits, these were employees that were in SPLOST last year doing resurfacing and will have to come back to our DOT to do it this year. Last year we were doing resurfacing out of SPLOST. There's no money in SPLOST to do resurfacing. It's coming back, this is budgeted into this year's general fund, and these are the employees that would have to do that resurfacing. Planning and zoning professional, that is the 600. Well, most of that is 600,000 of the 609 is the CTP to outsource the CTP that I mentioned. There was a revenue 500,000 up above. Fire department salaries and benefits. The overtime has been booked to salaries, but it was being budgeted this year into overtime. This year we're keeping the budget where we're booking it, so it's a swap between overtime up to the salaries. Sheriff's salaries, they are taking their personnel to a 12-hour shift. That's the increased cost by person added up to in salaries and benefits to go to 12-hour from 8-hour shifts. Development Authority, a request for one new person and $90,000 in professional. Public Defender, there's a decrease in expense down below. If I can just come down here, I should have put a number. If you take Public Defender down here, number 4, thank you, is a $164,000 decrease. So one is basically going in one place, one going in another place. Let's see, finance, $151,966. That's a reduction in the allocation to other funds that we were doing last year versus this year. Gasoline for the police department is up, budgeted $106,000 just for fuel cost. GIS professional, I mentioned the $50,000 revenue item up above that we didn't have in previous years. That is for the flyover. That's the $100,000 to do the flyover. Procurement, $87,000 reduction in the allocation to other funds. The support services, salaries, and group insurance, $84,000. That's a transfer from UPD. Down below, if you see UPD, there's a reduction down here, right here of $116,000. So it's a swap between the two departments. Highway DOT, batteries, parts, basically increase in repair expenses for next year. Special court funds, that's to offset the victim witness program expenditures. Superior Court, Office Administration, $75,000. They've requested because they have 7 death penalty cases coming up next year. They'll need more outside services, interpreters, and stuff like that. Fire Department, tires, battery parts, repairs. Police Department, same thing, $60,000. Building Department, salaries and benefits, $53,000 for a part-time position for residential inspector and a part-time clerk. The SPLOST program, salary and benefits, this is offset by revenues that's transferred in from SPLOST of $52,000. Fire Department, other supplies, $49,000 for uniforms next year. And EMA salary benefits, salary and benefits, $40,000. Again, that's another reduction in allocation to other funds. On the decreases of expenses, debt service will be reduced by $1,248,000 next year for payments that are reduced. And we also had a budget this year on some items that did not get purchased. I think there was an ERP for $500,000. Angie, is that not? Yes. ERP, thank you. Unemployment insurance is reduced because a couple of years ago we had layoffs. We pay the unemployment. We get billed by the state from unemployment on government layoffs. This year, practically don't think we're going to need any from prior. We don't have any layoffs in there. I'm just saying from prior years that we'd be paying on. Election temps, there's no need for election temps in an off-election year. Public defender professional, I covered up above. Capital assets, the equipment lease loan is a loan that is less each year. This is the reduction to next year's payment. Superior Court, salary and benefit, 2 positions are being eliminated. Uniform patrol, salary I covered up above. Legal professional, legal department professional is reducing their professional fees by $75,000. Elections, printing and binding, $60,000 reduction for an off-election year. BOC salaries, that's your pay cuts. Uniform patrol, other supplies, uniforms, savings in uniforms from this year's budget. Fire Department, the 40-hour salary, basically a paramedic was moved in administrative up to a shift, and then DFAX, the payment. I met with the DFAX new director about a month or so ago to find out that we had, in 2011 budget, I think, they had excess funds and they were to return the funds, so we're offsetting next year's budget by reducing their budget for the $56,000. The sum of those 23 items of increases is $7,649,000. The sum of the decreases noted are $2,008,000. That's an explanation of $4.8 million, unexplained of $139,000 for all the little items, and that's the $4,958,000 reductions on a gross basis of net basis there. Angie, what do you want to cover next? In your notebooks, I'm just going to put this up here. You can see that this schedule that's in your notebook, I don't know where that's at. Exhibit 2, I believe. Here. Exhibit 2. Yeah. The revenues, this is the revenues by line item, of which I've recapped the major items on the previous schedule. There's 2 pages of that in there for you to look at all the details. Expenses are on exhibit 3, in your folder. There's a large page, legal sheet rather, rather small print. Basically, this is the same format we used last year to show the expenditures by 3 categories together with the number of employees by department. I think there's over 60 departments that are listed here. You will have in the first 4 columns, for each of the items, 2009, 2012, 13, and 14, 4 years of budgets. 2009 is theirs because that was the highest year budget the county had at $132+ million. Then we have the most current 2 years that we were in now and last year, and then of course the 2014, which is this year's budget. This is broken down by salaries, benefits, operational cost, and total. And again, you can then have that broken down and dissected whatever way. Again, I went deep diving into this with the individual budget items that are in Exhibit 4 and gave you the details just a minute ago of the major items that would take and explain these increases and decreases that come with each of these departments. In section 4 of your notebook, there is a budget for each of the for each of the departments. I'm not going to put all of them up here, obviously, but this is what it looks like, and basically it gives you if the revenues, if that department generates revenue, there'll be a revenue at the top, and if it does not, there won't be, obviously won't be. And the expenditures by line item are shown. Just for example, here's the first one I found is elections. You'll see at the top here there is a revenue, elections for $34,000, which is the amount of money they charge the cities in an off-election year. And of course then their salaries by year, the benefits are in there, then the contracted services, material supplies, and then in this case they have election temps, which this year of course are being reduced to near nothing. So that's the format of that, so you can deep dive into the individual departments by line item. Angie, you want to come up here on this one? We'll go through it. I'm going to change my voice and let Angie go ahead now. What do you want to cover? You want to cover the priority twos that are in there?
The ones that are included?
Yeah. I'll just put them up. Section 6.
Look at section 6.
Five.
Before you have
Five,
a
five,
priority 2. Is it 5? A 5. These are positions that either have been added to the budget as a new position, part-time position for the building department, increase for several departments. And as far as salaries, there will be an increase of $65,622 for salaries, with benefits of $74,200. The third page is additional. You want to go over each
just
one?
Quickly.
Okay.
By department.
Building department, coroner, procurement, solicitor's office, state court judge's office,
That's it.
and
That's it. I was just going to say, those are the departments at least.
And then your third page is priority 2, is operating. We had some increases requested as before. Tax assessors, $10,000 for replacement computers. District attorney for education and training, $1,900. The solicitor for education and training, $2,000. Probate court needed some document scanners for $2,700. The police department, medical, professional medical, cleaning, tires and batteries, gas and oil, overtime around $200,000. Code enforcement for abatements were $25,000. Animal control, food for the dogs, cages, dog traps, stainless steel counters, $20,000. GIS, again, as before, it's $100,000. And building department for some professional medical, communication, and gasoline, around $2,000. Total increase that we have included in the budget was $374,971. The fourth sheet is a position for economic development that has been included in the budget.
The items that are listed, go ahead, stay here. The items that are listed over 100,000 or over 50,000 that are on what Angie just read were in those previous schedules where I indicated there were increases. The other items less than 50 are not, obviously, and they were part of that net figure that was not covered. You leaving me? It's fine. We can cover this how we want. Let's just leave this out. We're not going to go anywhere with this. Okay. Various departments, quite a few departments that you'll find when we go to section 6, if I'm right, or maybe not. Yes, no. Yeah, section 6. Go to past the first page that you have, go to the second page. There's about 5 pages, more than that, 2, 4, 6 pages, 7 pages, 7 pages total that are listed in which department heads have requested, in some cases, many cases, as listed on those pages. These are priority 2s. These are not in your in the budget. Priority 2, we considered priority 1 is what you're getting within the $121 million. Is there a problem? Everybody looks like they're scrambling. Am I in the wrong place? Go ahead, I'll let you take them. I'll just put them up there. Everybody with me? Yeah. So they can see all the. Is everybody with us? Okay.
You ready? The next section is the priority 2s that are not included in the budget, but is a request from the department. Additional for building department for a full-time position, $27,000. Clerk of Superior Court, promotions, DOT, increase, elections, increase, environmental compliance, facilities maintenance, fire department, planning and zoning, police CID, recreation, senior services, sheriff's admin, tax assessors, technology services, and transit. Those departments are requests of $889,694 in salaries, benefits $1,264,729. These departments that I just spoke of are not included in the budget.
The department is putting up the money.
Right. Priority 2 for operating, it is a request but not included in the budget. For information systems, for a new computer software system, for admin and public safety, computers is about $3.5 million. Police department, CID, UPD is a request for $758,000. Fire department, $21,500. One of those issues is mileage reimbursement to travel from station to station. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. If I can, my chief is here. I'll cover it, and if I mess it up, you please come up here and fix it, okay? At the present time, the fire department in the morning, when the firemen come in to their assigned station, if there's a shortage at another station and they have to send someone to another station 8 to 10 miles away, or on average, they have not been paying mileage to move those persons from one station to another. Request is being made to add a budget line item and start paying those mileages of that 10 miles to and fro. An estimated cost based on the numbers is an increase to the budget of $19,000 to start paying those 8 to 10 miles or 12 miles or whatever, to basically take the employees who are spending the money for the gas. They've come to their workstation, and when they are there, they're asked to go somewhere else. And this is to be fair to them, to say you're spending your fuel, you're burning up your car to get there, and this is to say we should be reimbursed them like we do other employees. There's never been a line item in the budget for it, as again the estimated cost, and that's all we can go by because there's no experience. It's estimated at $19,000. Go ahead.
Next department is community service for $1,300, recycling $4,200, recreation $3,900, recreation parks is $975, library $429,000, building department $7,300, and P&Z plan and zoning for $3,200, a total of $4,737,187. Also on priority 2, the capital, CID $163,000. That's for 7 Dodgers. Support services $27,000. That's for 3 intoxilizers. This is a requirement by the state for the use in the DUI prosecutions. We are looking into getting a grant. The police department is in the process of applying for a grant for those to pay for 2, I believe, right, Chief? 1? Pay for 1.
This is the other one.
Sir? We need 3. And UPD for 49 Chargers at $1,009,000. Fire Department, ambulances, replacement engines, remounts, ladder trucks, battalion vehicles, Med 5, QRV, and a brush truck for $4.4 million, and DOT for dump trucks, crew cabs, track distributor, great all, bush hog, sweeper for $848,000. Total request of $7.458. And these requested amounts are not included in the budget.
I think that's it.
Do need to talk about that.
Oh, we do. Okay, do we need to talk about putting it in? Increasing it? You want to talk about it or when? Of this you want to talk about? We need to.
We have to.
Okay. One other item that we need to bring to your attention, the Board of Commissioners are responsible for the date funds. We've been looking at the date funds and the amount of money. I'm sorry. I guess okay. The amount of money that's presently in there, the amount of money that has been used and put in the last year, the requests for money in next year's budgets by various courts, and the other is that according to a resolution number 11261 back on December 5th of 2011, the board in this last paragraph here said that the fund account balance shall maintain a reserve of $1 million. The computation staff has done based on the present figures. Go backwards here. I think you got this. Yeah. Isn't this it? No. This is it here. Yeah. 12. Since last year, July of last year, this year's budget, the fund balance started with $1,292,000. It had an adjustment due to cash and not being moved in and so on, 140, brought it down to $1,079,000. This schedule here from March 31st on is an estimate stating that we're starting with the $1,179,000. Remaining years, the remaining months, April through June, we anticipate $23,589 in additional funds, taking it to $1,203,000. These are the budgeted amounts in this year that will be going ahead and other expenditures that will hit that date fund, taking it down by $217,000, leaving estimated at this point slightly by $14,000 under budget, under the $1 million reserve requirement per the board's resolution in 2011, I believe.
Yes.
The final thing here is taking this forward. Anticipated revenues based on history is $90,000 for next year. 3 agencies, Mental Health Court, DUI Court, and Connecting Henry, have each in their budgets that you'll find in your book the amounts shown of $134,000, $59,000, and $81,000. Based on the revenue coming in and the budgets going out, the estimated fund balance of the date fund will be $800,000, or well below the $1 million figure that the board had recommended or suggested or said would be a minimum. So we're bringing that to your attention that within the budget you have those items that need to be considered if they be funded, or if the board so chooses to change the reserve requirement or anything else that I can't think of. Anything else? You said debt, what are you talking about? At this point, I'm going to stop, and Angie and I will take questions. Brenda's up here. I don't want to scare her, but she can answer questions too. She's just willing to jump right up and answer questions, she said. Again, as the chairman has said, Angie and Brenda have worked diligently for the last couple of months on this to putting it together. You can see by the amount of work that's in here, the ticking and tying, as I call it, making sure these things go back and forth. And what's always interesting when you do these, up until noon today, you change one figure, everything changes, you got to do them all over. And we've been doing that for the last 48, 72 hours, I would say, trying to put it all together as departments have come in and late or made some changes as has been indicated, and they've worked very diligently to get these schedules to be as accurate as they are for you. I went through it fast, but I was trying to get at least you through the pages so you understand what's in there, and willing to take whatever questions of what I didn't cover or confused you with.
I open the floor for questions from the board.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a comment. I'm not really going to ask a lot of questions right now because we've got a lot to digest in this. It's going to take a little while going through the book before I would be able to have many questions on it, simply because there's an awful lot of information here to look through. Normally we would, and I would suggest that we all need to take this book with us and really dig into it pretty deep to try and decide what we got to do to come up with wherever we've got to be and what services and what else we're going to have to cut in order to get down to the budget. So that's just a comment. That's not a question, but I'd like to hear what the others have to say.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Fred, Angie, I just want to make sure I understand, just looking at the increases on the revenue side of things. So if I'm reading this right, I see that there's $2 million coming out of fund balance, but is it, if you look down at the bottom, there's a net increase of, I'm taking out the decreases, so you're basically at $5 million.
If you'll go to Exhibit 3, Exhibit 3.
Right.
I'll get it right just a second here. Hold on.
Well, my question is pretty simple, though.
Yes, okay, I'm sorry.
I just want to ask, so I can get an understanding, and probably everybody out in the audience and watching it at home, it looks like there's a $5 million increase in revenue, but 2 of that's coming from reserves. So am I understanding it right that we're anticipating that the actual revenue for the county, not counting the reserves, is up $3 million? Is that kind of a concise way to look at it?
$2 million.
If you look down the bottom,
1.4 is LMIG money, so if you back that out of the, let me back it backwards on you, as you were saying. If you take the 120.9 and back out 1.4, you'd be at 120.5.
Right.
120.5. And what's that, 600, which one?
600 for the CTP and the flyover.
The CTP and the flyover, which are listed, that would bring it down to 119.9. I have to pull my schedule up here, take a look at that. What are the other ones that are none? That one,
which rounds up to 120,
yeah.
and then 120 minus 117 is about a 3.
Yeah, right. So that basically says you're going from the 116.9 to 119, or about $3 million based on the items that are left in the rest of the schedule. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I take that back, excuse me. Yes, and then you have to take 2.1 for the fund balance. That would take you at 117.8. So you basically, revenue-wise, true revenue increases, apologize, I missed that. The 116.9 in true revenues is a 117.8. And of the 116.9, 800,000 of this 116.9 that's up there, 831,000 last year was fund balance. So even last year, that amount of 116.9 was really revenues less $800,000 for fund balance. Okay. This year, the figure here in the 121 is 2.8, and that's why I was trying to direct you in your book in Exhibit 2 on page 2. Page 2, other sources of funds, 399-10-00 is APP fund balance. You can see under the 13 budget it was 831, and in the 14 this year it's 2,889.
Okay.
Okay, the difference is what I'm showing to explain the $5 million increase, not the actual dollars. So again, revenue-wise, if you take this last year, this was 116.1 when you can take out fund balance, and this year I'd have to take out 2,000,009, and that would put you at 117. So basically, there's a $900,000 net revenue increase, excluding LMIG, the $600,000 for the flyover and the the CTP, and the funds.
So there's actually $3 million coming out of fund balance, though?
Yes, in total.
And 3.7 over the last, if you're not rounding, over the last 2 years?
Yes, sir.
Really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I know I went fast through it, but I wanted to get it out, and not trying to hide anything. The numbers are here. Just wanted to get that in those schedules and out and quick as possible to you. Because I understand some of you have to leave early, so I was trying to get it so we have enough time for questions. So I'm just trying to get it out. Angie has something she wants to cover here on.
This is the budget calendar that we have been going by. We are planning on keeping the advertisement of April the 26th, and the first public hearing will be May the 7th. Publish the notice of adoption on May the 10th, and the adoption of the budget on May the 21st. So we do need some guidelines early, because I have to get the agenda item to Shay, and I also have to have a balanced budget to the paper when I advertise the public hearing.
If we adopt all these dates here, you will have ample time to do all this? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any comments on?
As
all-
presented tonight, you have a balanced budget.
Right. Yes, sir.
Does this, what is our revenue? I mean, the 116 million, was that with the millage rate increase that we did last time?
Yes, the 116 did have the last year's millage rate increase, yes.
Which was 14.05 or something? Was that
14.5.
14.5?
Yes, sir.
I know that being on that board and making three motions, that it sounded like a lot of crickets up here because nobody made a second. But when we got done with that, you know, we were, the previous board, we were kind of hammered because we went up to the 14.05, and by certain members that are on the board and certain members that were running at that time. And you know, this is a perfect opportunity for those that thought that we made a huge mistake by going up to 14.05 to reduce it back down to 13.75. I know that'd be pretty tough to do on this budget, but I think it's very educational that a lot of times promises are made that are just empty promises that are never kept. Anyway, having said that, what would the actual revenue be? There was also some comments about we should be able to run on the actual revenue, not even counting any of that. So what is that, like 103 million? Was it at that time somewhere in that neighborhood? I'm trying to think.
105. It was 105.
105 million. That was within a couple of million. That's pretty close on 100 million. So just that comment. I mean, there's a lot that we've got to go through, and when you look at it, it looks like another $1.25 just to keep it out of the reserve fund, or maybe $2 million to keep it out of the reserve fund. Knowing this is the first time that any of us have seen the numbers, I'm trying to digest them very quickly in my head, and I don't understand how that we're going to be able. This is going to be a very interesting budget year.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be a very interesting budget year. So, Mr. Chair, there again, I've got to really look at it before I can have any real questions. I've got to really try to digest it. So,
Anybody else have any comments?
I agree with Reed. This is a lot for us to digest, and I know staff's worked on it very hard, and you, Chairman, have also worked on it, and the employees, we appreciate everybody, what they've done, and we still a long ways to go yet.
To answer the question, it was not a question, but I think somewhat of a question. A mill last year was worth about $3,900,000 or $3,900,000.
right.
A mill.
That's right. Yes, sir. But right at 4 million. And when you in the $7 million at the last thing that we looked at, that was actually things that it was kind of a want list. Right, I mean, it's
Yes.
not in the budget, it's a want list.
It's a want
Because
list.
that's over 2 more mills. So,
Well, again, what we tried to do, because we saw in the capital, for example, that's one I mentioned last year, we have not been replacing capital. The only capital we've been replacing are some vehicles for the police department when they use their seized funds. You haven't seen any purchases in the last year of those vehicles. They are tiring. Repairs are mounting. You saw some of the increase in repairs. DOT's got some very tired equipment over there as well, which is why that's there. So what we did this year is said, whatever you spent last year, you get no more than. We don't want to start with the budget that we have like we did last year. If you recall, when we first started, I think the budget was $128 million, and we were expecting $105 million. We had to figure out what we're going to do. This year, we said, what you spent last year, if you were at the bone last year, you're going to stay at the bone. But tell us what you need to run your department, whether it's personnel, operating cost, or capital. And those are the three types of expenditures you see there, which it's the priority twos.
Right.
We didn't give you priority threes and fours because obviously there's no money for priority twos.
We appreciate that, too. One thing, I think before we scare everybody that's watching this on TV, I think it's very important to know that there's approximately $52 million in debt that the county owes, which a lot of that's long-term debt, a lot of it's lease debt. There's a lot there. But there's also approximately $646 million worth of asset value that the county owns. So I think I know that in my business I would love to just owe 52 and have $646 million in assets. But having said that, I mean, I don't want the public to think we're fixing to go broke. I mean, we've got some wiggle room, but also on the fund balance. When we talk about the fund balance, I know that certain times of the year it's higher than other times of the year, and when we get down to the end of the quote-unquote year, then our fund balance is not. What are we looking like on fund balance when this money comes out, and we are looking at maybe some other monies that may possibly be coming out of fund balance?
I believe we ended the year at about $30.5 million in fund balance, Angie?
Yes.
I think that's the figure we've seen. Again, fund balance is a tricky thing, and it's not tricky, I guess. It's a moving target.
Right.
Your fund balance in November will look great because we're collecting basically the future month's revenues and property taxes when they're all paid in November. Sales tax pretty much are some cyclicality to it, but it's somewhat even. So what you're doing is you're collecting a lot of revenue in November. You got a big fund balance, and then you use. The concern that you have to look at is a 25% is basically 3 months of expenditures. So what you're looking at by keeping a 25% of your budget, say $120 million, you're looking at $30 million. And that's about where we're at the 25% level. And again, that's 3 months. What happens is when you get to past June, July, August, September, and October, where your revenues are not coming in from taxes, you're depleting the cash that you received during those months. By the time you get to the end of October, you cross your fingers and hope like heck you get the big spoon of cash coming in to take care of you. So it's a moving target. That's the best I can say. I believe I heard the number, and I heard the number, we're at 34 as of yesterday, or was that correct I heard, or is that just?
I want to ask, I think what Commissioner Bowman was asking, like, tell us where, Angie, you might know this, what was it in October? You know, because that's the leanest month, is probably right before the bills go back out. How tight did we make? How tight did we get?
I'm going to refer that to Connie
Okay.
because I was still in budgets in October.
Okay. Last year I was tracking with Mike because in business I get as concerned about cash flow as I did profit. And of course, the government's not about profit, so I should concentrate on cash through the fund balance. About August, I asked the question and said, where are we at? And more importantly, where are we going to be by October? Quite frankly, the concern at the time was, will we make it through October without having to borrow money? Luckily, we picked up a big payment. Insurance, I think, came in, the $6.4 million, and we were able to get through October. And then actually what happened, some people actually pay their property taxes earlier in November, we found. Bottom line is we were down to about $10 million, so we didn't have to worry. We were breathing a little bit heavy, but it did get down to that figure just before that, and that's it. Now, further answer to your question, I believe, as you saw, we're budgeting an $800,000 use in this year's budget for fund balance. So if you say at the end of the fiscal year, using that as a published date, which is really the only time we get audited and published and have a real sincere, there it is, audited number, use 30.5, if we use the 800,000, we'll be under 30 million. This year's budget, from an expenditure standpoint, I feel good that our expenses are going to be in line. Revenue-wise, we're going to have some pushes and pulls, as I'd call them, some ups and some downs, some good and some bad. We're still waiting to see where we're going to end up on property taxes, for example. We're not at the 56 million budgeted yet, but we've got three months or less than 3 months now to continue to collect them. So those are the items. Sales taxes are looking good. We had a pickup in the insurance, which is the same thing we're budgeting for next year, the $6 million plus payment. Taking revenues, that's sort of the one I'm a little concerned about. The crossing guards we had budgeted last year, as you see, we took them out this year. That's $400,000 we won't have in revenue. And again, that puts a hole in it. So my hope is that at the end of this year, based on some revenue increases and decreases, we'll be about even on revenues, expenditures a little bit under, and we won't have to use the $800,000 fund balance. Everything being what it is, we come in exactly as budgeted. We'll have a depletion of $800,000, and we'll be down under $30 million in fund balance at the end of this year, fiscal year.
The 400 you just mentioned for crossing guard, were we being paid that?
We budgeted.
It'd be revenue?
It was budgeted as revenue under the police department. If you recall, one of the items, or if you'll see, I went through it fast. One of the decreases next year's budget is the major item in the police department. I think it's
462,000. Something I seen in there.
408.
Or 408.
Right. There's another item in the gross line item, and look at the pieces to the right explanation, but the 408's under police department revenue losses.
Fred, there's been a lot of talk regarding pay increase. Was any of that discussed in your meetings prior to your completion of the budget?
Not with the departments. Not with the departments.
Anybody else have any comments? Please keep in mind that this is the first draft. Once the commissioners has time to take all this home, digest it, the next meeting will probably be more lengthy and have more significant questions as we fine tune it.
I have one more quick question.
Yes, sir.
This is
It doesn't have to be quick.
well, I think we're doing good on time, but I know, I just want, as a commissioner, I want to make sure I understand which direction to go with how all this is laid out. And I'm just trying to make, and Tommy, I know you're the brand-new chairman, and I'm trying to make sure I understand the direction of where the county is. This kind of just throw everything in, and for us, besides the Tier 2 that y'all put under tab 6 that was excluded, is this what y'all are looking for us? I mean, as you sat through the meetings, Chairman, to go through, is this kind of what you're looking for us since it balances to kind of support, or is this just throw it all in and then we start nitpicking it out? I'm just trying to make sure as a commissioner I don't drag this thing on as I'm doing my due diligence.
My thoughts are that you can go through it and dissect it. Tier 2 items is most likely will not happen unless we have some significant increase. All the items in there, if you go line item, and the committee can provide you with line item issues, it's need to have stuff. Somewhere down the road, Tier 2 is going to have to become a Tier 1 feature. But right now, Tier 2 would be virtually impossible with the amount of revenue coming in. Tier 3 would be out of the question. So that's, I would suggest that unless you could come up with another innovative idea that is just review all the line items that's in there per se, and then look at Tier 2, and if it's some way that you think that y'all might replace something in Tier 1 with something in your mind would have a higher priority in Tier 2, then you could take that out. The money, the source of the money is absolute, so it stays there. Now, as far as taking items and swapping, it'd be like the splash list. It can be on the priority list, and it depends on where you want to put it. But I can tell you that I've sat in all the budget meetings, and the department heads have done an extremely good job make and do with the monies that's would be available to them. Now, if that's my thoughts. Now, the board can take and pick and choose and dissect and put and change, mutilate, staple at the end. That's I think that would be expected. But I cannot imagine that would be. There may be some changes, but it would replace something that's already there in Tier 1, if that makes sense.
But the budget that's here, the increases on revenue as well as the increases in expenses are what's considered priority 1s and 2s that are under tab 5. Or is
no.
that?
I'm going to tell you no. For an example, you got 1.2 million that I propose coming out of the fund balance for bonuses for the employees.
But that's
So-
on here under line item 3, isn't it?
Number 5, tab 5, those are included. Those were items that they came in to the meetings that the chairman and we sat in, and basically they said these are priority 2s, but they really need them to be priority 1s. So rather than burying them into the budget without bringing them to your attention, we've indicated these are priority 2s that went into the priority 1
Right.
during those meetings.
You can take that out. Okay, that would be $1.2 million. Another thing is going to be significant is that the 1.8 on the 16% for major medical. I suggest that be taken out of the fund balance and the county pay that. And maybe during the year we might can adjust it because it's, I just feel strongly that we can take that $2.8 million out of the fund balance and still provide all the essential services. So see, that can be modified. So if you wanted to take the insurance premiums and take that and give it parts or some of it to the employees, then consequently that would be revenue that would be there, but it wouldn't come out of general funding.
Right.
So in my mind, the only thing that would be tweakable would be I think you said 3.1, I thought it was 2.8, the fund balance for the bonuses and major medical.
Yeah, the figure that's in the major expenditures with the $1.8 million that's in there for group insurance and the $1.2 million is $3 million total, a little over that. In total of the increases, those two line items make up $3 million in the budget of increased expenditures, yes. And to your issue,
That's the only thing I could see where the board could reduce the revenue from the BOC side. But Tier 2, if you take that out, you can still, the only option you would have would be to replace a Tier 1 item with a Tier 2 item.
I guess the confusion lies with me is that I can't figure out if this is the recommended budget, because you've had the benefit of sitting through a lot of the department heads and so forth. If this is the recommended budget, or if this was just put it all out there for the commissioners to see, and now we're supposed to take the pencils and start cutting through it. If it's because it balances, and that's why I'm just trying to, if this is your recommendation, I'll look at it, because this is your brand new administration, and I want to, I want to work with you because I think there's bigger things that we're trying to do as a county, but I need to know if this is your recommendation or if this is just put it all in there.
I can answer that. I would suggest to you, and I would declare to you that would be the chair's recommendation for the budget for 2013-2014.
Okay.
if I could clarify, Commissioner Preston, because you mentioned it, and again, the items in tab 5, there are 3 items there that $173,000, which are positions or grade increases or whatever for $73,000. The next one is $374,000 for operating expenses, and the last one was the Development Authority for $194,000. If you add those up on ballparking, roughly $500,000 of what came in as a priority 2 rolled into priority 1, your $121 million in front of you. So basically, they got pushed in and added to whatever and came to the 121. So only those 3 pages have been moved from when the departments came in and said priority 2, because they wanted to keep their budgets, as they were told, even to last year. Those priority 2s would have made them go over. Those items were moved in, and they were over last year by those items that are in those 3 pages. Those are the only priority 2s that were moved in for those reasons. The other priority 2s remain priority 2s for the millions of dollars that are in those other pages, $1 million something in wages, $7 million in capital, and a bunch of other things. But the key thing here was, and the chairman said this is an awareness of what the departments are having to reflect on as their equipment or personnel or whatever else as the service requests are made, or the capital that they need to replace equipment. So at least the board is aware, if it isn't this year, it's the old story, pay me now, pay me later, so at least you know those issues are in front of us, because it's been a long time since the county, not only this budget year, but the prior budget year, very little was purchased. I think the last time anything was purchased was in 2011, 10. Was that what equipment at least we had? I think that's the last time any major assets were really purchased, except out of seized funds. And equipment does wear out.
Yes, sir.
I've already made one, but anyway, one thing, and I want to ask the county attorney, I would not have any problem supporting a bonus for the employees. I wouldn't have any problem supporting that. However, I still would like to entertain a 2% increase across the board with the county employees. And I do understand, you and I have spoken about some of this, and one of the things that we spoke about, I'd like to and have the county attorney check for me and see if possible that we could do it for the employees, however, not for any of the supplemental pay. In other words, basically, we do it strictly for the employees of Henry County at 2%. Now, 2% may not equal the 1.2. I didn't run the numbers, but at the end of the day, 2% over time will greatly enhance it over time. So I would like to entertain that and have your thoughts on it if you want to entertain it now. I mean, or you and I can talk about it offline.
We can talk about it, but I would tell you I'm on board with that. We discussed that.
All right, sir. I think if we did that, we could do away with that, what we're afraid of, doing it all the way across.
It does carry it could carry some significant consequences next year, because if we find it this year, we have to find that plus others next year. We discuss that. But I would be more than delighted to discuss the 2.5%.
It's all going to get wiped out with the insurance increase anyway. So,
I
mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be nil. But I would think that at least we would show the employees that we were trying to do something. And the $600, I don't know, after taxes, I guess.
No, so it's $600. What we've done now, just to be upfront, the part-time employees would not get this.
Yes, sir.
The elected officials would not get it. Any employee that receives a supplement would not get it. And I think we're looking at, help me out here, 14, what was the numbers?
14
How would you net that? A question.
Okay, here's the net. Here's how we net it. If you look, we've taken, could you do that where you could, I don't know if it's my side, I got 20/25 vision, but I can.
Let me ask you one question while you're thinking. If you did it on a net, I mean, if you got a single guy, you're going to have to give him a larger one in order for him to net 600 than you are if a guy that's got 4 kids. I'm just trying to figure out how that's going to work.
Well, I'm on, Angie, could you put that back up there, please? It's basically an estimate of 600. It's not going to be a science because it's some variables, but in order to gross, not to gross, but to net 600, here's the salaries. We've calculated all the salaries at $885,000. Then you come over here to pension. We have to do that legally. That's $77,880. And then the FICA, you have to do that. Then you have to do the WC. So then you do the total. In order for the total, it'd be $1,036,000. So you take the salaries and you take all that from there, and that would basically give you an average of $600 per employee. Some might be a little more, some might be a little less.
Okay, so it's not a net 600.
Sir?
It won't be a net 600 per person.
It'll be estimated, that's why I said estimated per
Okay,
employee.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, sir.
what you were saying. That's okay.
Estimated.
No problem. No problem.
Yes. Now, this is why, this $1.8 million, if they make, in my mind, if we make them absorb that, it's worse than a wash on the bonus. So that's why I suggest that, and we put it in here, is consider taking the 1.8 of the 16% of the premium insurance this year and take it out of the fund balance and Henry County pay all of it, the 1.8 million. That's where we come up with the 3 million, the 1.1 million, and then the 1.8.
Okay.
If no one has any questions, I'm going to let the board consider. I just got a note here, so we need to schedule another workshop meeting to go over any changes that the board has and any questions that the board may have based on these changes. So if each one of y'all will look at your calendar, I would like to announce that at this meeting.
Mr. Chair, could they just text us with those dates, or are they in the book? I was.
No, we're going to pick a date. We got to add another date to it.
We got to add another. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The dates that you put up, though, are they in the book?
No, sheets? No. That's obviously the dates.
With that the bonus, would that be annual or just 1 year?
I understand from the chairman that's a one-time payment.
Yes, sir.
It's a one-time payment.
It's the sooner the better. As soon as we can work out with, assuming y'all approve it, would be as soon as we can work out the details with payroll.
There's the dates again, May 7th and May 21st.
Okay, what was the, I don't think we're going to have it on the 15th. I don't think. Somebody look at your schedule and look what's up here and see. We got a meeting on the 16th. How about the 17th? At 6 o'clock. Does that, no, I can't do it on the 17th. I can't. I could do it. Could anybody do it on the 18th? That would be a Thursday. Okay. Let's move over to the. Let's move to the 22nd. Can we do a 22nd? That's not in conflict with your cover sheet, would it? 22nd. I don't make sure we don't.
No.
22nd. Would everybody look at the 22nd?
Are you looking for like the morning?
Sir?
Are you looking in for the morning?
6 o'clock
That doesn't work.
6 o'clock? Yeah.
in the evening.
It doesn't work for me.
22nd. That'll be on a Monday.
Doesn't work.
You can't make it. Okay, let's look at Tuesday. 6 o'clock. Who can make that?
I can do the 24th.
You can do,
I fly out of the country on the 24th and will be gone until the 28th.
to the 28th.
Yep.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to back up to the,
About the 17th.
what days you going to be gone? Now, how about let's look at May the 1st then. You're going to be gone to the 28th, right?
Yep.
May the 1st doesn't
May
work for
1st
me.
will be too late.
Huh?
May 1st will be too late.
Okay. How about the 30th? How about the 29th, Monday the 29th, because you can't do the 29th. Okay.
What about the 23rd?
I can do the 17th.
23rd?
Can't do 20.
I'll be in Savannah the 27th, 28th, and
Okay,
29th.
you're gonna be in Savannah too, right? I'm gonna, the 22nd, what kind of problem we have with the 22nd? How many will be here on the 22nd? 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, we could get 5 out of 6 on the 22nd.
Who's not going to be here?
The distinguished gentleman from District 5. Okay, let's,
What about the 17th? Did anybody say anything? Did they come to the
17th. I can't do the 17th.
You can't do the 17th?
But that don't mean the Honorable Vice Chair can preside over the meeting. You want to do it on the 17th? I will not be here at the 17th.
I can't be here on the 17th. I've got a meeting downtown.
That's fine.
Okay? How about the 15th? At 6 o'clock. You be here the 15th? 15th?
I can do the 15th.
Gentlemen, can you be here the 15th, Monday the 15th? This is just coming Monday. Can you be here Monday? This quick, it'll be this Monday.
Well, I booked up pretty quick this month, and we're running.
I'll try to change things around on the 22nd.
You do what?
22nd. I'll try to change a few things around.
22nd. Let's see the raise of hands who can be here the 22nd.
I can change some things.
Okay, we got that. We can go 6 on the, okay, let's go the 6 o'clock on the 22nd. Would that work?
Yes, sir.
That will work.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I don't think, we don't need to approve that, do we, or? Okay, I didn't think we did. Does anybody else have any questions, comments? If not, somebody move we adjourn.
Move.
We have a motion from District 4. We have a second. Have a second from District 5. Any further discussion? All in favor? Raise your right hand. All opposed, no, so moved. Fred, you got 6 more minutes, buddy. What are you going to do with it? Hey.